Hello. This is the Bench Podcast with me, Ethan Cunnison. To my left is Georgie B.
Welcome back, guys. It's the Bench Podcast with your boys. Carry on.
Below me is Alex King.
Hello, I'm Dan James. Nice to meet you.
What? Any player in the world knows Dan James? Yeah, mate, okay.
Yeah.
So today, keep it back in topic. We are finally doing a podcast episode where the news is relevant to this week. So, lads,
it's uploaded, to be fair, so you can't.
It'll be uploaded the same week we recorded it. So, whatever.
We'll see about that when we listen.
So Georgie B.
I want it done tomorrow morning.
Whatever. No one knows what tomorrow morning is. So whatever.
Yeah, it's different in like YouTube land, isn't it? So come on, carry on.
So Bennett, do you want to speak to the viewers about what we're going to be speaking about today?
Well, we've got two bits of important news really that's been happening in the last of more discussion topics really. But the first one's obviously the news that's just been announced that we're starting to get crowds back into football stadiums while this pandemic's going on. It's rumoured currently, I think it's about 4,000 at max for I think it's for certain tiered areas depending on where you live. But it's a start, obviously, of fans coming back into football stadiums, which is it's always going to be a good thing, really, because football it needs fans at the end of the day, for not just for money purposes, but to get the atmosphere of football back and get the players more willing to play for the team, really.
So I think the main question is, well, one, do you think it will? Sorry to get like political and everything, but do you think it'll be good for everyone? Like, would it cause a third wave? Will it? But is it good? Is it bad?
No.
Kingy, what do you think?
I don't think it will cause any problems because you've got to remember most capacity stadiums in the Premier League and other leagues, you know, what it will do, even in the lower leagues, you won't be able to have a full stadium. They'll have to have like a certain capacity of their stadium. So it's a good thing. And as I said, you know, we've been to a few like games out of the non-leagues where social distancing has been implemented and it's been fine and we've all been fine. And we haven't really felt, you know, in danger of catching it. And, even when it was getting quite bad. So I think, this lockdown has helped reduce the numbers of infection. So I think it's a good time to let people come back to the stadium because, people have gone through a lot of hardship and they need to be able to, enjoy a few things, especially on a weekend, after you've been to work and especially in the winter nights. It's just good to be able to do something on a weekend. I mean, obviously, not everyone's going to be able to go back, probably not till April. They'll probably be allowed. It's probably not going to be till full next season where they'll allow full crowds again. But I think over time, it will gradually build up to it. So
I've got the new rules up here on my computer at the moment. So how it's going to be working, we're going to go back to the tier system. So if you're in tier 3, you're not allowed crowds. That's it.
Crowds.
Everything. Tier 2, you're allowed. You're limited. Live events will be limited to 50% capacity, or 2,000 people outdoors, or 1,000 people indoors. And then
for non-league, that's perfect, really, because non-league, a lot of non-league teams don't get above 1,000 anyway. It's just for like local fans and maybe for obviously the away fans as well for the opposition, really.
Well, when we go to grounds, when we go to games, it's usually about 100, 200 people usually. So that's
at max, yeah.
But you need to be careful. Like, if you're going to switch up, I'm not saying it's good and I'm not saying it's bad, but you need to switch it up and look at the other side of it. What are you going to do if you've got a stadium and their capacity is close to 4,000? Will it be 50% capacity? Or will they be allowed the 4,000?
Bearing in mind, this is probably more for, say, like more professional football clubs, like non-league. Non-league, you can kind of spread out a bit because they're quite open because there's not massive stands. There's like say a small stand, but then there's like a few little or just pathway areas where you can just stand and watch the game, which is easy to spread out. That'd probably be more of a problem for, say, like your Premier League or Championship, because they're all quite tightly packed, aren't they? So
Yeah.
Yeah, but 4,000 in like a 30,000 capacity stadium is fine. You can easily spread 4,000 people out.
well, they were saying,
so-
I think they were saying the people who are going to be allowed into these games are going to be season ticket holders. So
Which
unless
is
you
good
have a
because
season
We
ticket-
won't be able to go.
well, no, we wouldn't know. But
yeah, which is good though, because at the end of the day, depending on the football club, season tickets are a lot of money, and fans have still been paying money for their season tickets for like the hope of soon they might be able to watch football again. So I think really football wise, season ticket holders have to be put first.
that's true. I mean,
Well, I think it's going to be. Sorry, it's going to be. It's going to be good for fans to just get back in. You know, especially like the fans that have got season tickets. I think anyone. You know, people haven't been able to watch football since March, so it's been a stressful time, and people have missed it. But it'll bring a bit of atmosphere back as well to football. You know, it'll be good.
Yeah,
I mean, it won't be the same straight away, because obviously, like say, having 4,000 comparative to say 55,000 on a full match day.
Oh no, obviously
It's the same, but it's better than nothing at the end of the day. You at least there's going to be some atmosphere at least.
one hooligan.
I mean, Arsenal. Arsenal fans. I mean, they'll be about the same either way, whether they have no fans or all their fans. So.
and City fans,
And
they'll be allowed. They'll be allowed 4,000. They won't even fill 4,000 up.
Probably.
Fans are used to having empty seats.
They'll get 400. They'll get 400 in, not 4,000.
Oh, well, there you go. Sorry, Man City fans, if you're watching. This is the joke, isn't it?
I honestly don't care what City fans are talking about, so whatever.
God, Ethan needs to appeal to other fans, not just.
I know, I'm joking. I know. We need to be a mutual platform for every fan base. So, yeah.
Well, not obviously not for City or Arsenal, because we've just slewed all them. So, you know, we'll move on from that one. I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, obviously in the future, obviously for this podcast, we obviously were thinking about maybe going to say different once lockdown and this virus has more or less been eradicated or gone. We obviously were thinking of obviously going to some live games, like say around the world. Like, obviously, we haven't thought about this when we actually started the podcast.
Yeah. We had a good discussion today, and we decided for all you bench guys, we're going to go around to every single West Midlands regional football Premier League stadium.
Well, not that one. I mean, more say or like, sorry, maybe like Juventus. Well, I'm just they're just ideas.
Stadium? I'd like to go to Marseille Stadium. Marseille got a nice stadium.
Yeah, you know what, guys? If there's any particular club abroad, obviously within reason, because at the end of the day, unless more people subscribe, at this moment we've only got 86 subscribers, and we don't have the facilities financially wise to be going to every sort of stadium. Yeah, to go to every stadium. But if you've got any stadiums that you'd probably want to see in like vlogging content or
like a documentary style, maybe,
yeah,
like, you know, like
either documentary style as well. Just drop in the comments of what football club you might want us to visit in the future.
A good one I've heard is, you know, going to Sparta Prague or Slavia Prague. Apparently, it's quite a good atmosphere there.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a few YouTube
and also
videos.
We wouldn't be able to speak. We wouldn't be able to speak to each other. We wouldn't hear each other.
Oh yeah, and also different countries have different rules, and different countries are better off, and different countries are worse off with COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess we'll see in the future. But
whatever you don't send us to Boca Juniors River Plate, because I don't think we'll make it back.
Yeah.
It's going to be post-mortem podcast by our parents. They'll just send the video up and put it on YouTube.
the last bench podcast.
Yeah, RIP.
Your new hosts for the bench: Brandon Hall, Adam Cottrell, and Ross McKellar.
Shout out.
Yeah, no one else except us, and know they are. But we'll move on. Do you want to move on to say the news that's been happening? game management, the game scheduling.
Yeah, I think this kind of links to one of the previous podcast episodes that we did early on in the year with remember when we talked about was it right at the time for the Premier League to bring back the to come back at the time, or should have cancelled it?
Season, yeah.
And I think we're starting to see the implications of I'm not going to big myself up or anything, but
You are on, yeah, but carry on.
But I think we're starting to see the implications of bringing back the Premier League so soon, and the rush of bringing back the new season. Because, like, I don't know if like the fans like or the people listening or watching realize, but like with football at the moment, a lot of players getting stripped by injuries. Like you're talking.
Well, obviously, we'll add a bit of context to this because, well, this has begun to surface. I think it was the Man United Everton game that I saw it first, like coming to focus. So when Solskjaer was interviewed by BT, and he obviously complained about the amount of games they've been having to play, especially since he went to say that last season they were in the Europa League and they got to the later stages.
Exactly.
The team's obviously going to be tired and fatigued, and then potential injuries would have set in. And then obviously this weekend just gone. Jurgen Klopp he basically had a rant about Sky and BT about the scheduling, saying that he's basically been messing up not just Liverpool's season, but obviously the Premier League in general, because that's why there's been a lot of debate about whether they should bring back more substitutes as well.
And that's another thing as well. I am really surprised that the majority of the Premier League managers vote to still have 3 substitutes.
Well, from what I gathered before, it was more based on the fact that I thought they were going to get an advantage over the smaller teams, because obviously the squad depth of, say, a Man City, or Liverpool, or United is going to be better than what Burnley or Palace or someone like that, for example.
But isn't the fitness of the players more important than?
I agree with that, definitely.
Like, why can't I know your squad depth isn't probably as better off as the people higher up in the table. But why couldn't you use the 5 substitutes rule and probably bring in some? It doesn't have to be first team players. They could bring in some youth academy players, for example.
Well, that's what,
and everyone loves that.
That's the other argument for it. Yeah, you can use youth players, give them more of a chance, and give them time to develop on the pitch.
Exactly.
But that's not some clubs.
That wouldn't be a bad rule, actually. That wouldn't be a bad rule. Like you could bring on 4 subs that were your first team. But then you had to have a youth academy player on the bench and use him.
Yeah, maybe that's a future rule that the Premier League could bring in.
So like a player under 20, someone like that. One of your 5 subs has to be a player under 20, and then if you need, and he's got to be the 5th substitute.
But I don't see that rule. I couldn't see that rule being implemented, to be honest.
It'd be beneficial for younger players. They need the game time, but you got to give that a chance, haven't you?
I guess it's hard because a lot of clubs aren't really heavily, well, not a lot, not most of the clubs, but a lot of clubs aren't really focused on their youth academy at the moment. Like, if I'm gonna, I know not a lot of clubs really give debuts at this current time, and you could argue that this is probably the best time to start giving out debuts to your best young talents.
I know. I'm being a bit biased here from Liverpool. I think we have started to do that. Like players like Nico Williams.
If I'm going to be honest, Benny, if you had a full strength squad, you wouldn't be starting these players.
Well, no, I wouldn't. Obviously, we've had our injury issues, like for us, but like if they weren't good enough, they wouldn't play. Like obviously, Curtis Jones. I'll give an example of one. Since he's come in, he's looks pretty solid, and he's only 19 as well. And look,
but Benny, I could argue though. So I want to give me an honest answer here. Okay. When Henderson comes back, when Fabinho, when Van Dijk comes back, so Fabinho can play in midfield, is Curtis Jones going to be starting for Liverpool?
Well, not straight away, but the way I'm seeing it is here. You've got Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain and you've got Naby Keita, who are so injury prone at the moment, especially Naby Keita. Well, Ox has more long-term injuries, but Keita keeps getting these little hamstring or thigh injuries. He's putting him out of so many games. there's got to be a point where you got to either go right, give Curtis Jones a chance to maybe get past them in like the ranking, or give Keita and Ox time to heal. But for me personally, you got to keep moving as a football club. So a player like Curtis Jones, bringing him in, giving him game time to maybe surpass Naby Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think that's more beneficial.
For me, I don't really like. I understand that Liverpool are starting to give them more youth players a chance, but I just feel like they're only doing it because they're forced to. And as soon as your first team players come back, I don't see them starting.
I can see Curtis Jones develop. I can see Curtis Jones developing to a start.
To be honest with you, Ethan, I'll probably have to agree with Bennett on this one because I think Liverpool
seriously
have. Yeah, because I saw at the end of last season when they had a fully fit squad, like in cup matches.
That's when they won the league.
Nico Williams. No, in cup matches before that. They did bring in a few new players.
Okay, we're going completely off topic here. But do you see Klopp, against for me, if Liverpool were playing Man City, for example, even though Man City are bottom half on the second half.
We just say Man City now. We'll move on before
whatever. It's my blood, but whatever. So Liverpool are playing Man City. Or let's bring it a bit close to home. Liverpool are playing United. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Jurgen Klopp going to be starting Curtis Jones against Man United? Yes or no?
No, not at the moment. No.
Exactly. So he's not heavily youth influenced.
No, but he's still been given the opportunity to play. He's playing quite a few games this season. And Nico started against Arsenal in the Community Shield. I know.
Because the fixture pile up.
Yeah, but Trent was fit at the time.
Yeah, because of the fixture pile up.
No, but it's.
All right, we're getting off topic.
Because for me, I don't really see. I don't really see managers at the moment focusing on young talent. And I think that's a lot of managers at the moment. I don't know why. Maybe a lot of people's young talent's just not good enough at the moment, or if they were good enough, they probably have already started. But I think it would be really beneficial for one, at its current climate, for players to regain their fitness and give young players more of a chance.
Well, I mean, this is a general point. I don't think the media helps with that sort of stuff because you get certain players who are overhyped to the max, and then they're expected to become this amazing next legendary player, the next Messi or the next Ronaldo, etc. They've been put this pressure on them, and then obviously when it doesn't live up, they just get ridiculed for it, which it isn't really fair.
I think
you made a really good point. That's with everyone now, really. I think you made a good point, and I think this could be a topic in itself that we could talk about because I've been hearing a lot of news about. I think we should talk about it now. To be quite honest, because I think we're starting to see a lot of young players being targeted, let's say, by the media. So I'm saying I know the United players, and I'm not really too sure about other players, but I'm starting to see a lot of players, a lot of the media targeting Mason Greenwood at the moment, and I'm seeing a lot of the media targeting Marcus Rashford.
I've seen the Marcus Rashford one, definitely.
Yeah, even after what he's done for the nation at the moment with his scheme feeding them.
But it's papers like the Daily Mail and the Sun that do all this sort of stuff, though. It's ridiculous. Well, I mean, to be fair, Rashford didn't really help himself by doing an interview with the Sun, but that's the Daily Mail's another one of those sorts of things where a similar like they do this a lot. Like Raheem Sterling's another example of this as well, exactly. Where say they're buying a house for a family member, like the mom or like another family member, that the Daily Mail will go all in, saying all footballers spending money on a flash house, learn to have respect for like for money and all that sort of stuff. Why are you spending so much money on all this? But they're not reading. They're just doing it because they like to make a story out of it.
That's the problem though, because like I think they've stopped now targeting Raheem Sterling because of the media coverage suggesting that the media are, and I really think like I'm not condemning what Mason did in England against when he was out for international duty, but I think since then the media have put a target on his back. And they're making up a lot of stories at the moment.
The thing is, Phil Foden was in a similar situation as well, but he seems to have been ignored now.
Exactly. And I'm not saying it's a race thing, but
that's what a lot of people are saying, though, isn't it? Really, that's the main point that they're trying to get at. Is has been classed as that sort of problem.
Well, I just think they're targeting Greenwood because he's Man United, and then just everyone wants to just fucking go at Man United, don't they?
That's the thing, though. Like, I can honestly say, hand on heart, the reason why Mason's out the team at the moment isn't because he's a troublemaker. Like, I heard the other day that the media called him the next Ravel Morrison.
Oh, we all remember Ravel Morrison, don't we?
That's the thing, though. But what's Mason done to be targeted by the media? And honestly, like,
it all stems back to that COVID stuff, though, doesn't it? We broke lockdown on international duty, but there's only so much you can milk out of that, really.
Yeah, but Mason, he's 19.
I know what I'm saying. Yeah, he's a kid. He's young than us.
He's a kid.
We're older than him, which is really scary in that regard. But you know.
I just think it's like a disgrace, like how the grown men are basically bullying a 19-year-old.
Well, this
is borderline bullying.
To be fair, this hasn't just occurred recently. This has been for years upon years. Like George Best,
and that's why it's a problem.
George Best is another example. He was football's first. I'm using an example of George Best here because he was football's first big superstar, really.
Yeah.
And he was pursued by media. They were trying to get stories out of him, and ultimately that's what led to what happened with him. He's alcoholism, but it's not a good look really for football for journalists if they're doing that sort of thing. Really,
I'll just ignore the papers. Really, the papers just talk crap. So I just
no. I don't think all papers are like that, but there's
there are some.
There's rags. They're absolute rags.
There's I think there's a lot of well-respected journalists, well-respected newspapers like Independent. I find a really give out good stories. Let's say the Telegraph as well, and online, The Athletic, if you want to sponsor the podcast or whatever.
Oh, please, sponsor us, please.
No, I think like The Athletic and a lot of journalists online, Twitter, for example, that they're really reliable when it comes to source, and they don't print out absolute crap like the Sun, like the Mirror, like the Mail.
Don't get me started on the Sun. We'll be here all day.
And they've been doing it for years. And I'm not gonna lie. I think Sky Sports News is slowly starting to go downhill with reliable sources. If I'm going to be quite honest,
you're not going to get a sponsorship with Sky now. You've ruined it.
Who cares? I'm dissing Sky. Nah.
You might. It's not going to want some transfer deadline day now. Come on.
For me, Sky is not a credible source anymore. I remember as a young football fan back in the day, I used to thank God Sky Sports News, and I'd be like, "Yeah, this is gospel. This is going to happen." But I think Sky they've come into a mold of creating news to like transfer, like fake news to like transfer news, for example. They put out a transfer that's probably not happening. Then people are going to bet on it on Sky Bet. So I just think
you need to be watching this. You're a heavy.
I just don't think they're credible in the slightest.
I think I agree they are losing the credibility at the moment, but it's who you can trust really in that sort of regard. It's hard at the moment because some more reliable than others. Some people do come out with some truthful stuff, but then other times it can be a bit of a failure. Some people can print lies and all that sort of stuff. It's hard to say.
But that's
It's a bit of a different podcast. We just talk about random stuff, really, not just about the topics. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed this.
I like these episodes.
We got a bit of time though, so I think we can go back to the topic about.
Okay.
Let's go back to all of that stadiums. You see, I reckon it's going to be like weird, like when we first see everyone, when we see a few people back in, it'd be interesting to see how good the atmosphere is. I mean, I'm not expecting anything good, but we'll be able to what will there be like chanting, or will there be like so? I mean, but will it be like
you can't stop fans from chanting.
Yeah, no, but like obviously, will it be? I know it won't be as good, but how good will it be? Like what will it be like? It's just like so many unknowns, And
it's not going to be the same as having a full capacity crowd.
I know that, but it's just going to be nice to hear. It's just going to be nice to hear a bit of atmosphere, even if it's just a little bit. Because it's just, I've missed it, I listen to that fan crowd on bloody Sky Sports.
They'll still have it on because you need to amplify what's already there. Because I'm sorry, as much as people want it to happen, as much as people want it to happen, 4,000 people isn't going to sound as much as, let's say, 10 or 20,000 people. Let's be honest.
It's better than nothing, but at the end of the day, you got to. And
that's the main thing. That's the main thing.
We seem to be starting to get back to that sort of how we used to have, like, watching a football match, having the atmosphere of the crowd and all that, and all the side of the all that sort of stuff. Really.
How long do you guys reckon it'll be before we start to get a bit more of an increase in crowds? So let's say from 4,000, then that's like 10,000 or something. Do you think it'd be?
I think it's.
I would say March.
I think it's very dependent on a lot of things. Like, there's a lot of talk about a vaccine at the moment. I think that's going to be a factor. And I think getting into next year, how many cases and we'll be getting in the future, I think that's going to be a factor.
Well, I mean, obviously, this isn't, just bearing in mind, this is a football podcast, not a coronavirus podcast. Just to not confuse everyone, but
But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of factors coming into play. How many fans, or if fans will be increased or decreased, because we might see that bringing loads of fans into stadiums, even for season ticket holders, it might be a massive mistake. It might be.
But I don't think it will be though. Because I think that you can easily spread out a decent number of fans in a bigger stadium. You can easily do it.
You just need to make sure. The main thing is obviously trying to get money back into the one of the big ones for me. You're trying to get money back into football, because ultimately, say you're gonna get some League One and League Two clubs, maybe even lower than that. They'll be starting to panic about whether or not they'll be able to see it financially.
And also as well, you've got like, I was going to say that you've got like, it's in an outdoor setting as well, stadium. So it's not like it's, you're indoors, stuck indoors. You can wear masks while sitting down. So there are safety implementations that have got to be put in. So I think after a couple of months, if everything continues to decline, the way it keeps declining, the number of cases, I definitely think that we could get a few more February, March time, I think.
I hope so. I really do hope so.
We will do, yeah.
I reckon next season, by the end of next year, I think they might allow full capacity stadiums again. I think so.
If the vaccine works, so you don't jump the gun. You got to wait to see if this vaccine will work or not first. If it works, then then the next thing is obviously you got to make sure it goes out to that many people as well.
Mm.
Once again, this has become the coronavirus BBC podcast, so we can move on.
But anyway,
Yeah,
but I would probably end it on that one then.
Yeah, end it on that note. Okay, let's say for you people in the comments, so what do you think it's a good idea for football fans or some football fans to come back, and when do you think in the future full capacity crowds or an increase in capacity fans will be introduced into football in all levels?
I've had a good thought actually. I'm thinking as well that now that they've had fans back in, I think it will start to give more of an advantage again to home teams.
Hopefully,
because obviously, I think now it's like you've got away teams that are going to home grounds, and there's no fans there to give them stick or put them under pressure. Whereas even if there's only a few fans, there'll still be a bit like a bit of encouraging for the home team. You see, so it'll be. I think it won't be much of a difference, but I think as we increase the capacity in the stadiums, I think it will start to have a bit more of an effect again, which is good because I think the away games now they're not become as challenging. Whereas you can go to an away game against someone like play a tough side, and the atmosphere is against you, and if you win, it makes it even more special. You see, but anyway, I'll let you finish it off. But that's just something I've mentioned.
Okay then. So after all that, it's a bye from me then. Ben?
Okay, it's goodbye from me.
Gingy.
Goodbye, guys.
And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Peace.
Good evening, everybody. A pleasure and a privilege, as always, to be at Anfield, where we are hoping for another miracle like Istanbul. Shaqiri in his own half, holds it square towards Matip.